What I Saw on the Other Side of Space and Reality by Snipa 6407. In 2019, a space anomaly was detected by a satellite 100 miles off the dark side of the moon. It consisted of space matter, dust, and unknown properties, and it held a general appearance of the remnants of a supernova. The object itself was about 100 meters in diameter, with parts of it stretching out even further. It was very bright with hues of green, yellow, purple, and pink, but in the middle it was pitch black, as if a tunnel was reaching into the other side. Of course, this piqued NASA's interest, and they conducted multiple studies in order to collect data. It was a few months after the initial discovery when NASA detected something very strange. A radio signal, somewhere in our solar system, and the source and cause was unknown until NASA traced the radio signal back to its source, the anomaly. The radio signal itself consisted of long, high-frequency sounds, ranging in pitch and volume every few seconds, every time in a different order and selection. After the noise was traced and the source was found, NASA made every effort to study the anomaly. They sent a probe to the anomaly, and the probe took samples of solid matter, the objects near the anomaly, and the materials that seemed to be emitted from the anomaly. Upon further study and investigation, NASA discovered that there was a slight gravitational pull, but instead of pulling any objects near the anomaly into it, the anomaly had the opposite gravitational pull, sending objects out of it. That's when an even bigger realization took place. Something that was completely new to human eyes. Despite how insane it sounded, all of the data, all of the research, and all of the observations concluded that the anomaly was most likely a wormhole. In the history of space exploration, an actual cosmic wormhole had never been photographed or seen, and some even debated the existence of wormholes. Yet a genuine wormhole was discovered right beside the moon. After the probe was sent back to Earth, it was decontaminated, and the scientists and researchers and NASA and the American Space Agency studied and analyzed it. And what the studies concluded were extremely interesting. In some of the solid matter that came out of the anomaly, there were traces of organic matter on the meteor. At first, the scientists ran tests several times again, but no matter what they did, the conclusion never changed. There was biological matter on the rocks. And even stranger, the biological matter seemed to come from a living organism. The tests did not and could not conclude what that organism was, but it definitely did not come from anywhere on Earth. And if the anomaly really was a wormhole, then there was a slim chance that the organism the biological matter belonged to didn't even come from our universe or plane of reality. In time, after even more funding, a second probe was sent to the anomaly to go in through the anomaly itself. The probe was equipped with the best cameras, audio receivers, and fuel that money could buy. After 3 days of traveling to the location of the anomaly itself, the probe arrived within 100 meters. The video feed the researchers back at NASA received was amazing. They could see the anomaly pulsating and emitting different hues of light, some of which were invisible to the human eye. Once the probe reached within 10 meters of the anomaly, the video and audio feed began to get fuzzy and spotty, but it remained functional. The probe finally entered the wormhole, and it went through at incomprehensible speed, traveling through the tunnel that swayed and moved like the surface of water. And then the connection was lost. The video feed cut out. NASA kept sending probe after probe until the cost of lost probes was too much, and they had to come up with a better, more efficient solution. The idea of sending an astronaut through the anomaly was immediately shot down. The gravitational waves of the wormhole would immediately crush or kill any living organism that went through it. But that was until NASA developed a spacecraft, one that could withstand any type of physical damage, from extreme pressure to gravitational force. NASA also developed a special spacesuit for the expedition. It was made of a very durable material, woven together to make it nearly indestructible while keeping the flexibility in the suit. I was involved in the expedition because I was one of the astronauts chosen to go aboard the special spacecraft. The spacecraft itself looked like it was another spaceship, but it was equipped with virtually indestructible metals to be able to survive gravitational waves of an interdimensional wormhole. On January 5th, 2020, I boarded the spacecraft along with another astronaut, Louis. Once we were on the other side of the wormhole, Louis and I were directed to explore whatever was on the other side, using advanced space maneuvering technology and high-tech cameras. And believe it or not, we were equipped with weapons. The scientists declared that there was a possibility that life on the other side of the anomaly, whether intelligent or not, could be hostile. So we were given tactical AR-15s equipped with armor-piercing rounds and modified to be able to fire bullets in space or gravity-insufficient environments. Since we were astronauts, we didn't know how to shoot military guns, so we had a 2-day crash course. There was also the risk that we wouldn't come back from the mission alive, but that was a risk I was willing to take. A few hours after the spacecraft took off, the spacecraft was steady enough that we could talk. From how far we were, the wormhole was nothing more than a bright purple blimp that was getting closer every passing second.
Holy shit, I can see the anomaly,
Louis said, talking into the built-in radio in his suit. You excited? I asked.
A little, but I'm shitting bricks right now. What do you think we'll see on the other side?
Whatever's on the other side, whether friendly or not, I replied. We were now more than a mile away from the wormhole, and even from here, it was getting a little hard to keep our eyes open due to the light. We stayed silent for a while until the spaceship was about 50 meters away from the wormhole. My heart was beating in my chest. Adrenaline pumped throughout every square inch of my body as we approached the wormhole. Before I knew it, the spacecraft collided with and went into the wormhole. And in an instant, a huge flash of light exploded around us. And we went through the interdimensional tunnel at nearly light speed. I felt the pressure and force mount upon my body. And for the longest 10 seconds of my life, I went through the most intense pain I have ever felt. But before I knew it, we exited the wormhole, and we were on the other side. Dazed, I picked up the radio.
Houston, we made it.
Only static came back. I had partially expected this because we couldn't expect to stay in communication after we'd exited the wormhole on the other side. I looked out the window, and for a second, I thought we were still in our universe. But then an excitement flooded my body. The small pieces started to click. The planets didn't look bare, they were flush and full of color, but a lot of colors were some I'd never seen before, and some colors I can't describe. Once I took in the new universe's features, Louis and I did what we came here to do: explore one of the habitable planets. We drove the ship down into the orbit of the closest habitable planet. The planet was lush and green, and it was the most similar one to ours. And once we went into orbit, I could see the surface and the terrain of the planet, and I detected that something was wrong. The planet was lush and green, with bodies of liquid and sustained oxygen. And it should have been full of alien life, but there wasn't a single life form on the planet. The spacecraft landed and we stepped out, holding our guns at the ready. The planet's air looked breathable, but I wasn't going to be taking chances by taking off my helmet. There's something wrong with this place, I said.
And what's that?
Louis asked. There's water, oxygen, and vegetation, but there aren't any organisms besides the vegetation.
You're right. There's no life here.
I was right. There was vegetation, but there was only some kind of moss and a few alien fern-like plants. Then I spotted something strange in the distance. It was a structure resembling something like an ancient Egyptian temple, and it was built out of some unknown material. I showed Louis the structure and we walked towards it. Upon closer inspection, we saw that it was actually a large doorway leading into a corridor, measuring about 50 feet tall and 20 feet wide. The corridor led diagonally down, a staircase built on the diagonal floor of the corridor. The structure was clearly not built by or meant for humans. Each step was a meter apart, and the whole build of the structure was absolutely massive. Should we go in? I asked.
Yeah, keep your guard up. We don't know what's out there.
We jumped down each step holding our rifles until the very last step, which led to a long hallway. In the large temple room, there was an enormous statue of a deity. It depicted a grandiose creature with massive eyes covering its body, which consisted of tentacles and legs and other strange appendages. There were smaller statues of alien-like creatures surrounding the main statue, seemingly serving or worshipping it. And I have to mention that we walked into the temple and we had not made a single sound. But as Louis took pictures of the statues and hieroglyphs, he accidentally knocked over a small statue about 10 feet tall behind him, and it fell to the ground and shattered. Immediately, I heard a sliding sound coming from the other side of one of the walls, and a hidden door opened, and a hideous creature burst out, screeching and trying to attack us. It was about 50 feet long, snake-like, but it had no head. Instead, dozens of tooth-filled mouths were all over the creature, snapping and biting at us. It was reddish-green in color, with several tendrils sprouting from the base of the creature's midsection. The creature's mass was made up of rotting flesh with holes and tendrils. Its tail lashed out and hit me, but the armor of the spacesuit protected me, and I stood unscathed. I shot at the creature, but the bullets only irritated it. Louis screamed, unloading his magazine into the creature. We quickly climbed up the massive stairs and ran out of the underground temple as the creature pursued us. I've never run so fast in my life, and I almost threw up in my spacesuit, but if we stopped running, that creature would kill us. We got into the spacecraft and took off, protocols be damned, just as the creature caught up to us. As we ascended into the sky of the planet, I looked down and saw something enormous emerge from underground. It ripped apart the creature that was pursuing us, and nearly in orbit, we could see that the entity was at least 40 miles long, and it was identical to the creature the enormous statue depicted. After this expedition, I know we were never meant to explore other universes. Of what other untold cosmic horrors lie beyond our reach, I hope we never find out. The cosmos should remain unexplored.